Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. It's WrestleMania week. That means we got a bunch of WrestleMania questions. But first, the drama du jour, certainly the drama of the past week or so, has been more CM Punk AEW stuff. Last week, Dave Meltzer posted a thing on the Wrestling Observer message board about CM Punk. CM Punk then took to his Instagram and then deleted a post that had said basically, Chris Jericho's a liar and a stooge. Dave Meltzer's a liar. John Moxley wanted to do a Rocky 3 idea, and I told him I hadn't seen a Rocky movie and the idea sucked. And it's all talking about the stuff that led up to Brawl Out. And so this seemed to be the inciting incidents when CM Punk was getting. So anyways, the idea of CM Punk, is he worth it? Seemingly, a number of people in AEW, A, still don't like CM Punk, and B, more importantly, possibly, Tony Khan just doesn't seem to communicate well with CM Punk, or there doesn't seem to be an open line of communication for when Dave Meltzer will put something out on the Wrestling Observer message boards. It gets around Twitter, and then CM Punk decides to publicly, try to address it and runs a bunch of people down in the process. Now, regardless of whether or not you think CM Punk is in the right or in the wrong or whatever, the bottom line is he seems to rub some people the wrong way backstage. So you got to ask yourself, is a presence like that, is he worth it? I'll posit two things here. And it's kind of a yes and a no situation. On one hand, yes, because his return, if he's able to work with people like, for example, Kenny Omega, who apparently, according to CM Punk, or according to Fightful Select, not CM Punk, according to Fightful Select, moments after the Brawl Out backstage fight, him and CM Punk had some words that were calm and civil, and Kenny seemingly just seems like the kind of person who probably wouldn't hold a grudge. So maybe you could get some money out of that. Certainly there are people in AEW who still like CM Punk. It just seems like there's a lot of people who don't. I feel like if you approach the situation very delicately and you bring him in when he's needed for TV, you don't try to infuse him into the DNA of the company. You treat him like a Brock Lesnar, where you bring him in, you have him do his TV, you sort of keep him separated from everybody else. If he'd be cool with that, if everybody else would be cool with, hey, we know Punk's going to be here, he's going to help our business, and the rest of the wrestlers' bottom line, basically, maybe it'll be a help as long as we don't have to put up with his bullshit. Maybe they can do that. But there's two things to consider. Number one, he seems to get injured a lot lately. It seems like that last year run that he had was everything he had, because as soon as he got back, as soon as he became champion, he busted his foot. As soon as he comes back from his injury, he gets injured again. I don't know that that's not going to keep on happening. I just don't. He's old. That just happens when you're old. And with him, he does give everything he has in the ring. It's something I always loved about CM Punk. The dude really does give everything he has in the ring. I don't know if he has a slower speed. I don't know if he has a way he can wrestle without putting his body at risk at this point in his career. If he's able to change up his style, shorter matches, less physically demanding matches, but I don't know if that's his thing. So, and then on top of that, beyond that, if he's going to be a ratings draw, it's going to be a short-term boost, because AEW's biggest problem over the past year or so has been their inability to keep people coming back via their stories that are being told. Tony Khan has gotten a little bit on the lazy side when it comes to telling the stories. I feel like they're rounding a decent corner now. I think they've got a lot more interesting things going on in their programming. And I mean, they did have Kenny Omega versus Vikingo this past week, and that bumped up their ratings quite a bit. Apparently in the quarter hour separation, like Kenny Omega and Vikingo were a ratings boost. So it goes to show that you don't necessarily need CM Punk. You just need compelling TV. And I think you can do that without CM Punk. So is he worth it? I think in the short term, if handled the right way, yeah, I think so. Do they need him? I don't think they need him. They need to focus on good stories. Big Mike talks. Now we're getting into some WrestleMania questions. He says, what is your excitement level for WrestleMania this year? Is it higher or lower as compared to last year? So it's much, much higher this year because of the bloodline storyline. I'm really interested in that. I'm really interested in Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. I'm really interested to see how they're going to figure out Bianca Belair versus Asuka. They I think in here asked a question about Bianca Belair, and I'll just sort of talk about it right now as I look for it. I think they might run into an issue with Bianca Belair if she beats Asuka. People, Odd Breakfast asked this. Do you think people might start to sour on Bianca if she wins? I think it's a possibility. I think if it continues to be a Bianca wins situation, people are just going to start tiring with that unless she turns heel, goes bad guy, and she finds different ways to win. But yeah, I kind of feel like they're risking that. But that's an intriguing issue to me. I'm looking forward to a lot of WrestleMania this year. Obviously, the Usos, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn is going to be awesome. I'm kind of looking forward to Brock versus Amos. I think that's probably going to be fun. So yeah, it's much higher than last year. Richard Ives says, what are your thoughts on Edge's return to WWE so far? I expected him to be involved in main events and challenging for the title once he returned, but his run is so far pretty forgettable. Well, if you remember, Richard, he did get stacked at WrestleMania in the main event for the title. So he did do that. He has main evented. I mean, it was the biggest main event you could possibly get. And he got stacked. So what do I think about his return so far? I think he made a really good point in his promo on Finn Balor when he said, I've been dealing with you guys for a year. I've liked the stuff that they've done with Judgment Day and Edge. The Beth Phoenix stuff where she got concertoed. I like that stuff. I'm looking forward to the Hell in a Cell match. I think it's going to be a good match. But yeah, it's just his timing on coming back was just a little bit unfortunate. He came back months before pandemic started. And if his idea was, well, I'm going to have 3 years to pick up where I left off because he saw that he had 3 years left in his career at the time, he chose possibly the worst 3 years ever to do that because 2 of those years were eaten up by the pandemic. So hopefully he'll stick around a little bit longer and do some more cool things because I like Edge. I think he's pretty cool, man. I think he gives everything he has into what he's doing. The phenomenal Pound Slayer says, considering how ECW, the WWE version, was mainly used to bring up talent like CM Punk, Kofi, Sheamus, etc., under Triple H's booking, could it have been like NXT with its own takeovers and such, or was it always destined to fail? I think the problem was when they brought back ECW, they couldn't really do ECW. The name brand itself was, I think, was worth the 2 pay-per-views. I think the 2 one-night stands. Those were really, really, really cool. When you bring it back as its own weekly television, I don't know that ECW could have... The appeal of ECW is that it wasn't WWE. It wasn't WCW. They did things the way they wanted to do it. So anytime you take a name brand... anytime you take a true independent promotion like that, even though I know they were bankrolled by WWE at certain points, when you take an independent promotion like that has that sort of Punk attitude, Edge, whatever you want to call it, and then you put it under a corporate banner, it ain't gonna work. It's just not gonna work. I think it was probably a worthy effort. And I think here's the thing. I think WWE needed to try it and fail. Because had they not, there always would have been the question, what if? And there's still the what if questions. What if they let Heyman run it the entire time? What if they had run their own venues? What if they had, put more money into it? It doesn't matter. It's still, if it's going to be watered down ECW, it's going to be watered down ECW. And they have made compromises because the network it was on Sci-Fi, so they had zombies and shit. They taped it, after, it was basically like the main event of its time where they'd tape it in dark matches either before or after. It just wasn't going to work. It would not have worked. The whole spirit of ECW was that it was independent, that they were the disruptors. They could do whatever. But then WWE just came in and swooped all their good guys. ECW was never designed, I don't think, to work on a national level. It just wasn't. Zyshawn Moore says, who do you think will have the best WrestleMania entrance or gear if you had to take a guess? Who will have, it's either going to be Bianca Belair or Becky Lynch. It's going to be one of those two. They always have really amazing WrestleMania gear. Patty says, what do you do to make Karrion Cross over with the crowd? Let Scarlett wrestle in like mixed tag stuff, maybe with him. Do that. I think that'd probably get the crowd over because I think she's like a decent wrestler. And then the dude needs wins. He needs wins. He needs quality wins. And let him change up his wrestling style a little bit. He just always seems a little bit on the clunky side. And I feel like if he tried a different approach, like I've seen matches of his from before he was in WWE or NXT. And I was like, oh, this is all right. And then he sort of changed it when he got to WWE and it just doesn't work as well. But honestly, with a guy like him, you just have him win, have him beat people. Look at Gunther. Like he was nobody. He was nowhere as Walter. And then when Gunther showed up, and Triple H took over, all he does is win. He puts on really good matches too, but he just wins. That's the main thing about Gunther is that he beats the shit out of people. Nick says, what's been the better long-term story? Sammy versus the Bloodline or Ray versus Dom? Hard not to say Ray versus Dom because Ray put his custody on the line in a ladder match with Eddie Guerrero. It spans decades, which is pretty fascinating. In terms of actual long-term storytelling, like the actual writing and booking and twists and turns, it's clearly the Bloodline stuff. But man, I really have enjoyed the Ray versus Dom stuff. I think it's been really solid. Thor Marquez says, what major hit song would you have ripped off as entrance music for WCW? So if you guys remember, WCW was known for ripping off things like Smells Like Teen Spirit and oh man, what was the other one? Raven had one. DDP's was Smell Like Teen Spirit, and Raven's was, I forget what it was. Was it an Alice in Chains song? I forget. Mine would be Pearl Jam's Animal. It would have been that. That'd be a killer wrestling song, and you could change it a little bit, and it'd still sound like Animal. It was off their second album. Shavon says, if and when Roman loses the title and goes on a hiatus, who do you see stepping up and coming in to fill the void as top heel? Either Gunther. Shavon has the two answers right here. It's Gunther and Finn Balor. I'd love to see Gunther take that spot on SmackDown, and I'd love to see Finn Balor take that spot on Raw as a top heel with Judgment Day there. Claus Techno says, at this point, do you think WWE should keep investing on Bray Wyatt? Who do you think is responsible for his run completely falling apart? Bray himself or Triple H and the writers? We have two more questions involving Bray. I'm just going to read them here. What should WWE do to fix the Bray Wyatt problem? This is from Charlie Black. And who should he feud with after he's done with Lashley if he ever gets to have a match? And then Helen says, what are your thoughts about Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt match getting canceled? I think it sucks for Bobby Lashley. Now he's going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. He should be on the WrestleMania card. I think it was unfair for him to put him in a thing with Bray Wyatt in the first place. LA Knight should be on the WrestleMania card too. I think he probably will be. But they're going to be in the Andre on SmackDown, I think. Bray Wyatt is an interesting case, man. I honestly don't know. It's hard to tell without knowing what's happening exactly. He's just gone. Dave Meltzer had said that he was going to be back for his match with Lashley, and that hasn't happened. I guess plans change. But yeah, he's gone. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that you put him in a pitch black match for one thing. Like you've got the guy who was gone for a long time and he's got all this great mystique and they do a killer job, building him back. And then you put him in a feud with LA Knight, which really didn't make a lot of sense because LA Knight's not going to really sell the mystique of Bray Wyatt. And then you put him in a pitch black match, a Mountain Dew integration. That's a terrible idea. I just don't think that's a very good idea. So who's to blame? To a degree, WWE is. So I don't know. What do you do to fix the problem? I guess you just bring him back again and you give him more of a purpose. You say, hey, let's map out these next 12 weeks and let's make sure that week to week, we're not repeating anything. We're not going back to the same well. If you're going to cut a promo, advance the promo, and then let's build to a match over, the first 5 weeks or whatever it is. You need focus apparently with that because it's just not going to work. And I don't know whose fault that is backstage. And is it Bray's? Is it Triple H's? I don't know. Anwar asks, do you like Jeff Jarrett and AEW? No. I love Jeff Jarrett and AEW. I think he's wildly hilarious. I think him and Jay Lethal and Dutt and Satnam Singh all make for a killer team. I think they're a lot of fun. I think they should get the trios titles or the international title or some sort of title because they're awesome and I love them. Pizza Core Kid says, have the odds increased or decreased in the last 6 months that a TV 14 will make a comeback? Decreased. Warner Brothers Discovery apparently is cracking down on AEW using curse words and flipping people off. And they're probably going to crack down on blood too. Last week was the first week in recent memory that Jon Moxley did not bleed during a match, although that might have more to do with him being a bad guy now. Johnny Burney says, you think FTR is staying or leaving AEW? FTR is staying in AEW. Doesn't make any sense for them to go back to WWE at this point. I think AEW is going to give them the freedom that they want. And so they're going to stick around. They're going to beat, the Ass Boys for the titles. And I think they're going to stick around. Odd Breakfast says, do you think people may start to sour on Bianca Belair if she wins at Mania? I already talked about this earlier. I think it's a concern. Braden Luter says, assuming he retains at Mania, who takes title off Gunther? Ideally, you let him keep it until he's broken Honky Tonk Man's record, and then you have Sheamus take it off him at Clash of the Castle next year. Made to Kid. I don't know what this is. Made Kid. That's what it is. Says, I saw a video go up on the Fed's YouTube channel of Cena roasting his opponents on the mic. Now half of this list is after Cena has been a part-timer. Is it fair for Cena, who most likely has carte blanche to say whatever he wants in a promo, to bury his opponent for not getting over when it's WWE's booking and pre-written promos given to his opponent? That's a really interesting point of view, and I think you have a good point. John Cena is also very much a personal responsibility guy. You gotta do the bootstraps and get yourself over type of guy, because he did that. I think a lot of John Cena's success he probably attributes to himself doing it, and he's probably right about that. And so he probably has that same philosophy for other people. With Austin Theory in particular, it's interesting because Austin Theory, I think Cena's spot on in that if he doesn't find that thing, he's going to be in trouble. The crowd simply won't care. And then maybe he'll have to. The thing about Austin Theory is that he's still really young. He might benefit from going somewhere else. I don't think WWE's ever going to let him go. And I think they'll probably just keep on trying. I feel like he's young enough. Eventually he'll find his thing. But John Cena found his thing in kind of a flukish way, and it blew him up. Flukes are not easily discoverable. They're flukes. So Austin Theory does need to find that. But no, I think John Cena can do that because plenty of people do get themselves over. Look at Dominic Mysterio. He gets a crowd reaction now. He definitely gets a crowd reaction, and that's what you want. And it's because he's improved and he's been turned into a bad guy, and they've given him something really good to work with. With Austin Theory, WWE does need to take more risks with him, but it's also kind of on him to put his foot down and say, hey, I want to do something new. I think this will work. And then they gotta run with it. Alvin Jones says, who's going to win the Impact title now that Josh Alexander is out with injury? Macklin's going to win. And Malachi Perez says, hey, Steve, not really wrestling related, but I want to ask if you have any new merch in the pipeline or have thoughts or thought about for WrestleJuice. Yes, I do. And we're releasing new merch over at Going In Raw and Friendo Club for WrestleMania. We've already got the stuff done. I've got a hat right here, but I'm not going to show it to you guys. And then after that, I'm going to get hard to work on some WrestleMania stuff. I'm sorry, WrestleJuice stuff. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be pretty cool. Damn sure I'm just going to do a hat because I really love these hats. That is a good looking hat. I got this one over here. This is a Friendo Club. So look at the embroidery on that. It's beautiful. Anyways, that was out of focus. Check out this video over here. But yeah, new merch definitely on the way. Hey, if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. That thing.